Welcome to Kodemine. Karrie here. So in this video, we will talk about what is the directory structure of Laravel 8. So for those guys who are already familiar with the Laravel 5, 6, 7, for those there is not huge changes into the Laravel 8, and they can just go through with the what is new in the Laravel 8 video, right? And they can proceed to the next. This video is specially designed for the new person who is new in Laravel. So the directory structure is one of the important thing in any framework, right? So we need to understand that what is the directory structure of Laravel 8, right? So directory structure means how the directory are placed in the frameworks, how the files are placed in the frameworks, right? Which file is important and which file we can get at which directory, right? So if I talk about Laravel 8, so you guys can see here in previous video that I have installed Pizza Laravel application, that is Laravel 8 into my Ubuntu 16.04 LTS version, right? So in the Laravel 8 we have a in our main folder we have a app directory, bootstrap, config, database, public, resources, routes, storage, test, vendor, and some important files, right? So let's start with the one by one and we will talk about each and every directory, right? First of all, the app directory, right? App directory is the one of the most important directory, right? Or you guys can say that all the code which we write for the application is contained under the app, right? Most of the things we have into the app, that is our middleware, our controllers, our models, our exceptions, anything related to the console commands, right? So that all comes under our app. So 90% of the code we write in the Laravel, that all comes under the app directory, right? We have a controller, middlewares, then we have a model. And here I want to repeat one thing, that in Laravel 8 we have now new directory of models, right? Before we do not have any model directory, right? So that is a new feature added into a Laravel 8, right? And then we have a providers, right? So this is about app directory. This is an important directory used to place our controllers, models, providers, middlewares, right? So next thing is bootstrap, right? So bootstrap is basically used for the bootstrap. We know the bootstrap framework of CSS, right? So for the caching, right? So that is for that purpose. And then we have a config, which is now the another important directory after app directory, right? In this we have the configuration of our Laravel 8 application, right? We have a app.php, auth.php, cache settings, then we have a database connections, file systems, then hashing, logging, mail setup, queue setup, services, session setup, view.php. So every kind of configuration which can be done into Laravel 8 application is available into the config directory. So config directory, as it is clear from its name, so it is used for the configuration, right? So the next thing is the database, basically. So database is the have some subdirectory like seeders and migrations, factories, right? So the basically these directories basically used with the database kind of work, right? For the migration files, for the seeders file, right? Seeder means when you want to add a large amount of data into your database, correct? Then we have a migration file, then some factories file, right? So you guys can see the factories also added new into our Laravel 8, right? Then database, so we can say that the database is also a very important directory, right? So those guys who are new into Laravel 8, I just want to tell you that database migration, like creating tables, alteration of tables, creating databases, everything is dynamic in the Laravel 8 or Laravel versions, right? We do not need to go into the PHP myadmin or MySQL to create the tables and all. We just execute our artisan command, and we are able to execute the migrations, right? So this is for that. Then we have a public folder, right? So what is the job of public folder? Public folder is basically you guys can say the entry point, right? Here we have a, in public folder we have a index.php, right? So index.php is the one of the, you guys can say, the entry point of the Laravel application. So whenever you load the Laravel application, right, we run command php artisan serve, then automatically we got that 127.0.0.1 colon 8000, right? So that page which execute, that is index.php. So the first entry point is index.php, and more in the public directory is that we can add images or the external files like JS file, external files we can put into the public directory, right? Then resources is similar, we can say the resources basically the static files we have, like we have CSS file, JS files, right? These kind of file. Then we have some language kind of configuration, right? Then we have a views. Views is basically HTML part. So all the views that is loaded by the different controllers are actually placed into the views directory, right? We can create a multiple directory into the views directory, but we contain all the views into our view directory. Then next, after resources, the next, which is the most important thing to understand into the Laravel, that is for the routing, right? How we can do the routing. So the routes folder is basically handle the files which is used for the routing purposes, right? For the API routing. So the whatever the URL generated for the APIs, we write into the APIs, right? For channels we have a different routing. For console we have a different writing. For a web, right? Web means whatever we call from the HTTPS request. Console means that we run through the CLI, right? So routing, if I say in simple word, routing is basically a configuration of your URL routing, right? So that is again an important directory. Then we have a storage directory. In the storage directory, basically we store the cache or logs, right? So this is again important, and one thing I want to mention here, that the storage directory should have the permission of 777, right? Because it should be writable, because here we have to write down the logs at runtime, right? Then we have test. Then test is another perspective to testing. It's a very important directory, right? For example, unit testing or any automation kind of testing, we need to add on that we use into the test directory. So the next very important directory is vendor directory. So the vendor directory, basically we know that we have installed the composer using we have used composer to install Laravel 8, right? So we have installed different dependency which is used by the Laravel 8. So in the vendor directory we have all the dependency, all the library, third parties dependencies, services or library, that all include into the vendor directory, right? So this is all about the directory. And if I talk about another important files that is present into my Laravel application, that is my first of all .env, that is an environment file in which I mention all the parameters, variables, right, which is used for the development mode, right? So you guys can see here, if I click here, so you guys can say app name, app key, right, DB connection, all these things are available, right? So this is basically used for the environment variables, right? Then important thing for a beginner to understand the artisan file, right? So artisan file is basically contain all the artisan command. So the person who do not have much knowledge about artisan command, just go into your application and run that command, php artisan, right? So you guys will automatically get all the command which is used by the artisan, right? php artisan, and also description of the commands. So this is a very beautiful thing according to me. So you guys can do this way and can understand each and every file which is used into the Laravel application, right? So the next important file is that is composer.json, right? This is again related with the composer, in which we have all the dependency mentioned, right? Then we have a composer lock file which is important, right? Then readme is about the information about the Laravel, right? How to run that, this kind of information. Then we have a server.php, the information regarding the server. So at the beginner level, we just need to have a very good information about app directory, config directory, database directory, the resources, route, storage, vendor, env variable, and artisan file, right? If you guys have a basic understanding of these directory and these 2-3 files, that is enough for a beginner. So hope you guys enjoy this session. So if you guys have any query, question, you guys can comment into the comment box, or you guys can get email ID into the about section, right? And you guys can ask your question on the email ID. Within the 24 hour, you guys will get the answer. And I just want you guys to please subscribe our channel. And to subscribe our channel, under the video we have a red subscriber button. Just click on that, right, and enable the notification, so that if the next time we upload the video, because now we continuously uploading the video for the Laravel 8, right? So please do subscribe the channel and enable the notification button down the video, right? So thanks for watching. Have a very good day.